In each of us there are two natures. If this primitive duality of man, good and evil, can be housed in separate identities, life would be relieved of all that is unbearable. It is the curse of mankind that these polar twins should be constantly struggling. Robert Louis Stevenson and the musical Jekyll and Hyde. Published in 1886, Robert Louis Stevenson penned an extraordinary Gothic tale that ended up getting rave reviews. An anonymous author from The Times strongly praised the work, calling it a finished study in the art of fantastical literature. His work was highly regarded in the same way of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher and The Premature Burial. Like Dan Curtis, Stevenson wrote his novella because of a dream, or in this case, a nightmare. The dream was so terrifying to him that he tossed and turned, prompting his wife to wake him. Instead of experiencing relief, he cried out to his wife, "Why did you wake me? I was dreaming a fine bogey tale." Most know already of this demented tale, but in case you don't, the story in a nutshell is this. Dr. Henry Jekyll, a very good-natured and well-liked scientist, creates a formula where he can divide good and evil, in the hopes that he might rid the world of evil. Without the support of his peers and those who would financially back him, he uses himself as the subject of the experiment and transforms into the evil, uninhabited Mr. Edward Hyde. The novella is less than 200 pages, a quick and easy classic Gothic read that dives into the message that all of us are battling the good and evil within ourselves. It was no surprise at all to me when Dark Shadows decided to borrow this storyline. Christopher Pinnock gave an excellent performance, transforming between the mild-mannered Cyrus Longworth, who harbored feelings of lust for the deceased Angelique and potentially genuine attraction for Maggie Evans, into the wickedly abusive John Yeager. The scenes with him and Catherine Lee Scott were legitimately chilling, and I really felt for her safety. I also enjoyed the scenes where Angelique and Yeager were teaming up. One could call that typical soap opera fare, but it made a lot of sense why the writers were headed in that direction. 2 years prior to Jekyll and Hyde's stint on Dark Shadows, Dan Curtis turned it into a televised film in 1968, starring Jack Palance in the dual role. I do need to go back and rewatch that film, but I remember most of all, and I'm sure all of you do, remember the classic memorable music by Robert Cobert, which was reused in Dark Shadows as Quentin's theme. I can't leave the subject of Jekyll and Hyde without mentioning the thrilling Gothic musical version by Frank Wildhorn. I can't begin to tell you how much I love this musical. The entire cast, especially Linda Eder, are excellent in their roles, and all the songs do a wonderful job of moving the story forward. If you get a chance, check out the version starring Anthony Warlow in the dual role of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Stay tuned for my next Dark Paradise minisode on Frankenstein.